Hello everyone, welcome to Testing Tuesday, as I like to call it. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to try out some things in Ubuntu as we head towards the new release, which is coming on 23rd of April later this year. As I record this, it's the 25th of February, so not long. We'll look at the release schedule in a minute. But I wanted to showcase some of the new stuff and also have an opportunity to give everything a little bit of a poke and a noodle around. Some of these are going to be like formal testing sessions where I'm going to wipe my system and do a clean install and test things that the QA team have specifically requested be tested, and other times it's going to be a kind of noodling and poking around day. And today, for the first one, quite relaxed, and it's going to be a noodling and poking around kind of day. So if you want to see some more of these, do subscribe to the channel, and I appreciate feedback, so leave me a comment if there's anything in particular you want me to try out, or anything you want me to test, or a particular Ubuntu flavor you want to see, then let me know. I'm using my trusty Lenovo ThinkPad. It's an X220 with 16 gig of RAM and an SSD. I use this for testing because it's no longer my current main laptop, so it means that I can wipe it and I don't really care because it's not my primary device. And I can put all manner of stuff on it. It's also sat in a docking station, so I can pull the drive out and put a different drive in, which makes it easier if I want to keep an install around on a disk. I can swap a drive out, put a different one in. So that's what we're running here. Now you'll notice it's not super high resolution, it's not 4K or anything like that. It's quite an old laptop, being an X220. It dates from around 2011, 2012. So the internal display panel is actually 1366 by 768, which is still surprisingly common. It's on the way down, but there's still a lot of people who have this resolution display. So I don't think it's a bad thing that I'm using something that's not 4K. And I appreciate all you people out there with lots of money who've bought new laptops have got 4K displays, but I won't be showing that. I'll be showing the kind of other end of the scale. And I think it's important for us to look at both. So let's have a look at a few things to look forward to in 2004. Now, it's worth noting, again, it is the 25th of February, and the release isn't until April, so it's a couple of months away on the 23rd of April. We always release on a Thursday, and it's either party time or relaxation on the Friday, or day one bug fixing. Generally it's relaxation, unwinding after a stressful week. But so we've got a couple of months to go. We're back here in February, and I plan to do more of these as we go through the weeks, to have a look at how 2004 is building before the final release. So what's new? Well, one thing that people often ask is about the kernel and which kernel are going to ship with, and currently we're on 5.4. This is apparently the LTS kernel upstream. There's probably a kernel.org page here somewhere. There we go. So this is a long-term support kernel, and I believe this was chosen by the kernel team because, well, it makes sense, doesn't it? It's a long-term support release of Ubuntu. 2004 is going to be supported for 5 years initially, and then potentially another 5 years with extended security maintenance. So it makes sense for them to use a LTS kernel. But the kernel team do backport stuff from newer kernels, so it's not like you're stuck in the past. It's an LTS kernel, so there are benefits to that. What's next? Well, one of the big things that a lot of people have talked about is the new theme. we had a sprint in London. Martin wrote about this on a blog post where we got some people in who've been working on the community maintained Yaru theme. I think it was previously called Community Theme or something like that. It's now called Yaru. And it was the default in 1910. And we invited a whole bunch of people to come to London, and we sat around in the London office, much like this, and went through with a fine-tooth comb a lot of the feedback that we got from both from senior management at Canonical, from people in the community, bug reports, from our own internal design team, and from the Yaru team themselves. And you can kind of make it out on this these pictures. We had a projector up with, you know, a big list of gotchas and things we wanted to look at. And at the top of Martin's blog post, he mentions here gives a screenshot of Yaru as it looked in Ubuntu 1910. And this thing here is the GTK3 widget factory. You can actually launch that yourself. Widget. And it's just an application you can use to see every possible permutation of all the different widgets in GTK. And you can see here how it looks. And you can compare side by side how 2004 looks compared to 1904, and probably the thing that jumps out for most people probably is the color scheme has changed slightly. People who are really good at noticing stuff will see, you know, all the little tiny single pixel changes here and there, but most people will probably spot stuff like the colors, like these colors are more aubergine here rather than the default light blue in the previous release, and aubergine here rather than the green. We got some feedback that there were too many colors in use, and we were possibly overusing orange as well in various places. So, you know, that was part of the feedback that was fed back to the design team, and changes were made. Like I said, this is not final, 2 months out. Although, if you look at the release schedule, where's the release schedule? I've got it here somewhere. We're currently, where are we? 25th of Feb. So on the 27th is feature freeze, and then user interface freeze is midway through March. So we've got a little bit of time. But yeah, it would be good if we could get some testing on the theme and see if everything looks right in all the various applications, and you know, all the stuff you use on a daily basis. So this was great, sitting around, you know, with designers and with developers, trying to figure out exactly what the theme should look like, which was really, really cool. The highlights and the accent colors were probably the things that you'll notice most, especially if you go through the GTK widget factory and you go through all of these things. You'll see there still is some orange here and there, but there's nowhere near as much as there was. It was a little bit too much, and changing, you know, so you can see, you know, we've changed a few things so they're not quite so bold and not quite so, well, basically orange. But still, you have accent colors like you have up here in the close button, which helps it be distinctive, and you can see that a desktop is, you know, Ubuntu from a few feet away. The other thing that was proposed during that sprint in London was a switcher. One of the things, a bit of feedback that we had from a lot of people is that there was no straightforward way to change theme. And I know this is a super contentious topic for everyone, but we wanted to make it possible for people to switch between the default themes that we ship. And so currently, as it stands, this is what it looks like. And this has only just landed in Focal Fossa, which is the development code name for 2004. And you can see here there's three options shown here. If I get a window up so you can see what difference that makes. Whoops. And this is the default, which has light window content background and a darker header bar, which is what we call standard. And then there's a light variant, which flicks everything to light. So you still have the light window content, but you'll now have a light header bar if you prefer that. And then there's the dark variant, which changes the window content to be dark and keeps the header bar dark. So you can just super easily switch between them. Many of the other settings in here are much the same, and we've obviously inherited a whole load of changes and updates in here from the Upstream Going project, so that's all super. But this was something we wanted to add in because people were having to go off and install GNOME tweaks or figure out and do internet searches to find out how to just change their theme, and we felt it would be nice if, given we ship these 3 variants of the theme, it would be nice to have a way for them to users to switch between them. So that was added. That's worth playing with and making sure that works the way you expect it to. So have a play with that in 2004. Another thing that's oh, you probably noticed this actually while we're here. The icons. This came up at the sprint, and one of the design team who works at Canonical worked with one of the community design guys, and they iterated on a whole bunch of options for these folder icons, whether they should be plain or have gradients, and how you make it really look like a folder, and whether it should actually look like a folder, or whether that metaphor isn't appropriate, and whether there's too much orange or too much aubergine and so on. So we went through a whole bunch of iterations on that. Again, none of this is final, but personally I really like those icons, but I'm not a designer. There's a place to give feedback for that, and that's the Yaru project on GitHub. What else? So the other thing that has been notable is some performance improvements, and there are other things that you may not notice that happen under the covers. And I think if you want to know more about what changes there are in 2004, what's coming down the pipe and what's already landed, actually the best place to go is to the Ubuntu discourse. You can obviously install 2004 and then just see what comes down the pipe with your regular updates, but every week the desktop team post updates of what they've been up to on the team, and if you scroll through this, you can see what each member of the team has been up to, what they've been fixing on, what they've been fixing and working on. Oh look, Robert's working on GNOME software, so that's another thing that's changed that I forgot to mention. GNOME software has had a little refresh, so the banners look a little bit different. The way it presents applications is slightly different. So for example, if I want to install Inkscape, click on it. Previously we had a little button down here where you could switch channel. If this was a snap, you'd switch channel and it was super undiscoverable. But now it's been moved up here to the top, so now you can choose which channel you want to get that application from just by choosing this little drop down, which is quite nice. So you can say, I want to follow the latest development release, choose the Edge channel, click on that, and it switches to latest/Edge, and then you can hit the install button in order to install that version. So that's a nice addition. But I noticed in that post that Robert did, he's working on the Snap login dialog. I suspect that's to put back in the feature that allows you to log into the store, which is useful if you've got private snaps. May in the future support paid snaps. But I think that used to live up here. It was removed in an update, and I think they're going to put it back in a future update. But that's cool. Ubuntu software getting some updates there, because it's actually surprising to some people. A lot of people actually use this tool to install software. Not everyone uses apt on the command line, so that's cool. The other thing that's new in 2004, and I haven't had a chance to test yet, but I think I'm going to test in a future one of these videos, is ZSys. And this builds upon the ZFS work that was done to get ZFS, or ZFS if you prefer, landed in 1910. ZFS is the cool new hotness that isn't all that new. People have been using it for ages, but the cool thing about ZSys is it enables your system to take a snapshot when you do a system update. So if you get a dialog box that pops up that says, hey, you need to do your software updates, and then you click the button and it does all the software updates, in the background it'll do a snapshot, so that in the event that the updates fail, you'll be able to go back to a previously last known good. And that's super useful because, you know, sometimes updates break, you know, it happens. And this gives people a lot more confidence that they can push forward with their updates, and they don't have to feel like, if I go forward, so my system's going to break. Because if it does, you can reboot, and at the grub menu you can go back to a previously last known good state. I think it's still being worked on, so you know, the fact that you can see Gibble, and I think down here Didier is also talking about ZSys a lot down here. So if you want to know what's going on with ZSys, you know, here is a good place to find out about it. Also, Daniel Van Voot has talked about his performance updates in GNOME Shell. That's always good to see. Both Daniel and the upstream developers and the rest of the GNOME community are working to make GNOME Shell faster, better, stronger, harder, or whatever you call it. And that's great. So seeing things like, you know, the smoothness of animations and the speed of animations and stuff improve. I know this is also a contentious issue because some people don't like this whole animation stuff. But, you know, thankfully you can turn that off. It's an option that's exposed in Tweak, which we don't install by default, but you can, you know, you can just use Tweak to turn off animations. And when you've done that, you know, it speeds things up quite a bit. So there's a lot of work that Daniel and the rest of the GNOME developers have done to make things go fast, which is cool. Loads of other stuff. Excuse me. Updates to GNOME as well, with new GNOME Shell coming down the pipe. It's all good. So yeah, I would recommend, if you want to know more about what's going on the Ubuntu desktop, go and have a look on Discourse to find out what's new and improved and what people are working on. And you can get involved there and ask questions and talk to the team and follow the links through to bug reports and all that kind of good stuff. So that's it really, just a quick video. I wanted to show off some of the things that are coming in 2004. I think we'll take a look at that ZFS and ZSys stuff a little bit later, because that's pretty cool. A bit of a game changer. Next time, I think we'll do the clean install experience. We'll follow the instructions on the ISO tracker. So grab an ISO. I'll do a clean install, because this is clearly not a clean install. Look, I've got all kinds of stuff on here. I've got games and all kinds of nonsense on this system. So I want to test out a clean install. I'll do that next time. Especially as if we look at the release schedule, you'll see it's Ubuntu testing week next week. So it's a good time to start getting familiar with how we test the ISOs, and then do the testing around about this kind of stage here. But you know, we're always keen on people doing additional testing for Ubuntu, so that it's the most polished final release when April 23rd comes around. That's the idea anyway. So yeah, next time I think I'll do ISO testing of a GNOME release, this default Ubuntu experience. But if you're interested in me trying out any of the other flavors, because obviously we have the KDE flavor Kubuntu, the LXQt flavor Lubuntu, Ubuntu is there for the XFCE fans, and Ubuntu Budgie if you prefer the new lightweight Budgie desktop. If you're interested in me testing any of those, then leave a comment below. As always, like and subscribe, and I'll see you at the next one of these. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care.